CBS Sports fantasy writer Jamey Eisenberg to the fold, and here's what I and other viewers want to know, Jamey, and then I'll get out of your way. What are your top 5 fantasy storylines for week 2?
Well, I'm going to give you 6 just with a bonus because Puka Nacua was absolutely awesome for the second week in a row. So start that guy. Who would ever say to sit him? I did, so that was a bad call by me. But let's go back to some of the 5 takeaways that were important for this week and things you can hang your hat on. Jared Goff was my start of the week for week number 2, and he was awesome. Why? Because he loves playing at home, and he gets a home game again in week number 3. But over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. 2 of those go to Josh Reynolds, and we may have found a starting fantasy wide receiver, certainly in 3 receiver leagues. You know Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to be a star, but Josh Reynolds now 2 games in a row with quality production, and until Jameson Williams returns in week 7, you may have a very good find in Josh Reynolds. Go pick him up off the waiver wire. Jordan Love does not have Christian Watson for the second week. It does not matter. He's got 6 touchdowns on the season, so back-to-back 3 touchdown games. Imagine how good Jordan Love is going to be when he finally gets Watson back on the field, and we see what this receiving core can finally look like. So Aaron Rodgers, it's been great so far for the Packers, and Jordan Love from a production standpoint. You clearly would like to be 2-0, but it's nice to see that Jordan Love stepping up and playing well as a fantasy quarterback and someone that might be able to help you, especially if you're dealing with some injuries, looking at Anthony Richardson in particular. We got some clarity on some backfields that we had some questions on. So last week, Rachaad White had a lot of work but wasn't very productive. This week, he was productive against the Bears, finding the end zone, 5 catches, loved the carries as well. And so you know that he's going to be locked in as the guy. For the Bills, James Cook lost some goal line opportunities, which stinks, to Damien Harris and Latavius Murray, but over 100 total yards. And that's something I think you can look at moving forward, that this is going to be the guy for the Bills. The touchdowns will come, so don't panic about that. But involved in the passing game, we love to see it. Was fantastic performance from him in that win against the Raiders. Zach Moss comes back after being out in week 1 and dominates touches. He only didn't play 1 snap for the Colts today in that victory against the Texans. So until Jonathan Taylor potentially comes back, Zach Moss will be at least a flex option, but maybe a starting running back. So if he's still available on the waiver wire, go get him heading into week 3. And then Kyren Williams, we knew the story before the game that the Rams were going to make Cam Akers inactive. And Kyren Williams did have a disappointing drop that turned into an interception for Matthew Stafford. But again, dominating touches, finding the end zone again, and will be the guy for the Rams for the foreseeable future, especially if Cam Akers is traded. Mike Evans was somebody that we were downgrading coming into the season because bye-bye Tom Brady, hello Baker Mayfield. Hello Mike Evans with a huge game, over 170 total, 170 receiving yards, finds the end zone again. Back-to-back touchdowns for the start of the season for him, and might be making the Buccaneers rethink that decision to not give him a contract extension, because even though he's getting up in age, still very productive. So might end up being one of the steals for fantasy managers this season, and you will definitely be starting him for the foreseeable future until his production starts to tail off. Hopefully that's not the case. And then we get the tight ends back. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews come back, and lo and behold, at the top of the tight end production standpoint for week number 2. Kelce, not a huge game, but did score. Mark Andrews did score. Again, these guys are only going to get better, so great to see them back on the field. They'll make their quarterbacks better. Certainly was the case for Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes will continue to get better as well, but we love seeing those guys back on the field because they're stars, and they make the tight end position, which typically stinks, look a hell of a lot better when those guys are producing like they do.
Jamey Eisenberg, you are a fantasy machine. Love it, brother.
Thank you.
All right, you want to dominate your league? Join Chris Towers, Jamey Eisenberg, Dave Richard, Heath Cummings, and Adam Azer throughout the season on Fantasy Football Today. Use the hashtag AskFFT, and they'll answer the best questions on the show. Fantasy Football Today is available wherever you get your podcasts.